First of all, I love the couch you're sat on.
Yeah.
It kind of
Do you like
sets
this?
the tone
It's
for this
perfect.
film. I was thinking, watching it, that I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall on this set, because the props themselves, the costumes, everything around must have been so exciting. So what was the most exciting part to start with for you guys?
I'm going to go, as you bring up the props, I'm going to bring up one moment, because I haven't talked about it before. When we were at Rockfield Farm, which is where Queen recorded Night at the Opera and Bohemian Rhapsody, most famously, I actually had one of the toms that Roger used with his drum kit at Rockfield Farm in 1976. So yeah, that was like a prop that I really fanboyed out over.
Oh, I had, I mean, what was most exciting? Obviously the performances, to get to actually be a rock star. Other movies, I can relate to some of the more emotional scenes or some of the funny scenes or getting to do something sort of crazy, but I've never been able to do something like that. To actually feel the energy of the crowd and to like live out a lifelong dream to sort of be a rock star was amazing. But in terms of props, I had 5 wigs. They all had their own names.
Of course, you know.
Yeah, the onion and the carrot and the mushroom and the mini mushroom.
All very glam rock.
Yes, and I was also given a perm, which I had to wear under these wigs and only came out twice in the film. So yeah, my hairstyles were vast and far-reaching.
It's funny, like when we wrapped on the film, I thought I'd heard the end of the whining about the perm, but it's
No.
just come back to haunt me.
It will go on forever. You don't understand my pain.
How available were the, members of Queen to you guys? Remaining ones.
They were really supportive and really helpful, very much available from day one. We actually met them. I don't know if you met them for the first time, but I met them for the first time at Abbey Road. You met them for the first time there?
Didn't we meet him for the first time at the rehearsal space doing Live Aid?
My memory is serving me well.
Yeah.
The first time I met Roger was at Abbey Road anyway, yeah.
Okay,
But
yeah.
they were
Brian
nothing.
Making, but yeah.
Yes, you're right, yeah. But they were nothing but supportive and answered numerous questions. So it was a privilege to have them involved with the movie.
Yeah, and Brian gave us his email straight away. We were terrified to meet him because we were supposed to be rehearsing Live Aid. We had just gotten together. We weren't any good yet, and we were like literally trying to hide upstairs, trying to find excuses not to go down there and meet him. But once we met him, it was just an immediate hug, and you felt like it wasn't about criticism, it wasn't about judgment, it was about him trying to lift us up and champion us and just support us. And when we were doing the rehearsal for the first time, he actually had a cell phone out and was taking footage of us like he was our fan, and it was like really surreal, and like you just felt immediately that we had all of his support, and it gave us the energy to like say, all right, we can do this.
Well, energy is what they're all about. I mean, what I loved about the film is how much it pays tribute to art and the collaboration of this band, and the fact that it was not only Freddie Mercury that brought the art into the music. How much do you enjoy that aspect?
As the band, I mean, you love it, right? Because those are our characters.
Yeah, very true. And also, like, just for some reason, like, we're always very defensive about our own characters. So, like, any song that Roger wrote, I'm always like, that song's amazing.
I'm in love with my car every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And defensive about our instruments too, like which one's harder, which one takes more skill, and stuff like that.
So,
but it is wonderful, and that's why they're so successful, right?
Yeah.
Because they each were songwriters. They were each accomplished songwriters and wrote hits for the band. And what they were when they were together was that they were always greater than the sum of their parts. And the way that they helped each other improve on each of their songs is the reason that Queen is so lasting and enduring today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a lot of people think that Freddie wrote all the songs. That's like what they think, you know. And yes, it was largely Freddie and Brian, but it was the whole band, you know. And I think it's important for people to know that, to know why they were so special.
Yeah, and then, you know, the whole, background behind the songs was extremely refreshing to find out. All the details are real, right? All the stories behind them have been vetched by the band, right?
I mean, there's some artistic license in terms of dates and things like that. You know, it's still definitely an artistic interpretation.
Some fans are upset about
the story
when the mustache comes in. And
really?
Yeah, but
like, it's impossible to do it. Otherwise, if you want to make a documentary, make a documentary. You know, but like when you're making a drama, then there has to be some slight, minute changes. But for the most part, it's
yeah,
accurate.
it came from real stories.
Now that you're touring with the film, are you able to grasp and gauge how much the band meant to people internationally? I mean, I'll explain that. I grew up in Beirut, and, you know, Bismillah, I can pronounce it correctly. But, you know, it's been such a big part of growing up, and the music still resonates in my life. What about you guys? What was your Queen moment?
Oh boy, in my life, oh geez, they keep popping up in my life. Like when I was a kid, it was sort of more and more as I got older, they meant more and more to me.
Yes,
And
same here.
it was probably about 6 years ago, I directed a film for the first time, and every day going to set, I would listen to Somebody to Love in the morning to wake myself up, to pump myself up and get ready for the day. And to like kind of go on this journey and now suddenly to be a part of this legacy, even in a small way, is just one of the coolest things in the world. And you'd think that maybe we'd get like sick of it now, right? That we've been listening to Queen for every day for basically a year. When we wrapped and I went home back to New York, and I went on like a road trip, the only thing I listened to was Queen. And so it's funny, even to this day, we're still like talking about, do you know this song? Do you know this version of that? And it's we've become sort of very strange super fans.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's good that your song was not another one bites the dust every morning going
Yes.
to your film.
Although I did use that in a student film I made in high school. I did.
It's catchy.
Yes.
I suppose for me, the Queen songs that really resonate with me, often ones that Freddie wrote actually, and tend to be about longing. There's a lot of in music that's like, you know, like with Somebody to Love. I know that's kind of in like a major key and kind of quite positive, but there's still that kind of longing for somebody or longing for love or being heartbroken, all those kind of songs. Maybe in like my adolescent years, you know, something I even more, or still to this day, but you know, related to, and definitely I got a lot from and felt less alone by listening to them.
Let's talk about Rami. What makes him so extraordinary for this role in your book?
I think it's just an incredible transformation. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, when I first found out about both that Joe and Rami, you know, were in the film as Americans, I was a little bit dubious. I was, you know, because Americans playing British icons, I was worried about things like the accent. You know, to be completely honest, don't know if I told you that before, but
It was obvious. You were so judgmental.
but I said to them both. I remember we said it was on your birthday, and I said you guys are absolutely nailing the accents, and it's not just the accent with both these guys; it's the physical transformation as well. But I just think that both Joe and Rami have done an amazing job. It's just incredible.
That's very sweet. Yeah, I knew Rami for a decade. We did a job together called The Pacific years and years ago. And so when I found out he got the role, yeah, I was like, oh, I've known for a very long time that Rami is an excellent actor. But it was when he put on that mustache and the nose prosthetic and put in the teeth that suddenly it was just something else completely. And it was just like so awesome. And just moving, even with all of us, just to see when we put on the wigs and the clothing, the resemblance, and feeling like we really were that band. And it was awesome to have Rami as a front man, and to work with him again was a really special thing.
It works. I mean, the chemistry is the same between the actors as it seems to have been in the band, so that was really great.
Yeah.
Leading up to leading up to Live Aid, so how was it? How much of an audience did you have in front of you? How much of rehearsals did you need to do? I mean, this was a pretty ginormous concert, so how can you emulate it?
It was a movie in itself.
Oh, Live Aid, yeah. It was like 2 weeks we shot that?
Yeah, okay. I think so.
Yeah.
And it was 5 weeks of rehearsals.
I actually preferred filming the kind of smaller concerts, because for those ones we were in like a rehearsal studio and like it felt more compact, like it was a real gig. Whereas with the Live Aid gig, it was required a lot of imagination. We had about, was it 200?
300 extras.
300 extras in like a massive airfield. So a lot of imagination was required, but it was so amazing, though, to be thinking whilst you're doing it, though, you are recreating one of the most iconic performances of all time from one of the most iconic concerts of all time. You know, it was also a sense of just feeling privileged to be there.
Yeah, and it was such a production. I mean, they rebuilt the stage to scale, and they didn't just want us four to be doing exactly what the real men were doing on the day, but everyone surrounding them, the crew, the people on the sides of the stage, they wanted all of them to be exact. So the choreography that took place between all of us, between the featured extras, between the cast, between our real cameraman, between the crew, between the crane operators and the extras, it was like, to start with that Live Aid, it was just like you realized immediately being in this film, you were a part of something so incredibly special.